Well, hello there, good people. It's your boy Johny-J, and welcome to another film. And today we're heading out on another photo adventure, but the skies are grey. They're overcast, 100% cloud cover. But hey, I've got some tips for you, and it's got to do with long exposures. So stick around and I'll walk you through this one. It's going to be another fun photo adventure. Let's get it. That's a jumping Jody. They're big, they're about inch long, 2-3 centimeters, and they're vicious as. So watch those things, they sting like hell if they get you. Keep an eye out for those. How cool is this new lookout? Woo, baby. Look at that water movement down there. That is getting me interested. Maybe from up there. The walking track goes up the hill there, so. Ooh. I'm thinking long exposure. Yeah, baby. Look at that water movement. That is so good. So you can see that's that lookout I was just on down over there. And you can see that's that beautiful water movement down there on those rocks, which I really, really like. And I'm thinking what's going to happen is I'm going to take in some of this big wall here, that wall, and out to sea, but shoot a long exposure and get some of that movement down in there. Now, looking at that cloud, I would say it's possible. The cloud's moving a little bit there by the look of it, but it's moving quite slow. So we may get a bit of cloud movement, depends how long I get my shutter speed up. But I think at this stage, that is the plan, okay? The other thing I want to try and do, because I'm shooting a long shutter speed, there is a little bit of a breeze. So whatever I decide to have in my foreground, you know, whether it be one of these little plants here or something, I'll get the camera out in a minute and have a look. But whatever I decide to get in the foreground here, I've got to make sure you can see there's definitely a bit of movement from the wind in these. So if I'm shooting a long exposure and I use these plants in the foreground, then I'm going to have to shoot a fast exposure as well of the same composition and blend in those plants. Otherwise they're going to show movement in the frame with a long exposure. So that's the plan so far. I think I might get out the camera, try and find a composition, and yeah, we'll go from there. I'm starting to feel it now, you know. When you get out and you see the clouds like this 100%, usually it's not very inspiring. You know, you just think to yourself, oh, a big grey day. We're definitely not going to get any colour at sunset. It's highly unlikely. You know, sometimes you are lucky and you can jag a little gap on the horizon and you get a nice light show, but I'm thinking it's not going to happen today. So that's why I'm planning for the conditions to be quite similar to now. I might even wait to the blue hour. We'll see. You know, to get some of those more bluer tones and obviously get the exposure a bit longer. But for now, that's the plan. Long exposure, and we'll see what tones we get. Could end up being a black and white because there's plenty of texture around here. So I could imagine this being a nice black and white as well. But anyway, we'll leave that to the post-processing bit. But I've got that in the back of my mind, looking around at all the textures and the long exposure, and the water movement and things like that, that I may go with a black and white. Anyway, let me get the camera out and see what we can do here. So I found a composition I really, really like. Johnny, mate, that shot looks a little soft there, mate. It's out of focus. But hey, on the bright side, you look 10 years younger. There's a bonus. It's nice and balanced, and I'll just walk you through it now. So we're going for a vertical composition this time, and just remember that on the video it shows 16 by 9, so it's a bit tighter than my actual composition is, okay? But you can see here, it's looking pretty good. So we've got this greenery in the foreground here, and then we've got some greenery over here, and there's actually a little bit of greenery out in that point as well. So there's like this 3 point to this dynamic color. We've also got some beautiful yellow yellow moss down here in the foreground, which I really, really like. It looks amazing. And I think that gives a nice splash of color, a nice balance, a nice areas for your eye to bounce around. And you got to remember that the things that make your eye move through a photograph are either color or contrast, or different textures can help you move through the scene. And because today we haven't got a whole lot of light, it's really, really flat. It's great to choose a subject that has something like these splashes of color to help move your eye around. We've got this middle part here in the center where the waves are washing in, and that was really important to include in my composition. That's what we saw down from the lookout at the bottom before. I was like, oh, I really like that. I think a long exposure around those rocks might look pretty cool. So that's sort of featuring in the center of these two pinnacles, and then we've got our greenery that sits around it there. So far, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking, but I'm still tweaking the composition a little there. Like, I'm looking at it now thinking, oh, I've possibly got a little bit too much horizon, so I might include a bit more of that foreground there, move things down. But other than that, it's looking really good, and I'm happy how things are turning out. Now it's just a matter of waiting a little bit for the light to drop and adding our filters, and we'll be good to go. I've just got the main part of the filter system, the ring, plus a polarizer that's in there as well. So we're going to polarize the scene a little bit as well. I just think it might be nice to help bring out some of those colors. Again, you know, while the light's quite flat the way it is, I think adding a polarizer is just going to help me. Not only does it help me get that longer shutter speed that I'm after, it's going to help saturate some of the colors in the plants and bits and pieces. And that's what I really want to see there. All right, I'll show you what that polarizer can do. If you have a look, you can see as I turn it around, it's sort of saturating and deepening the color in the water, which I really like that. So that does two things, I think. It not only intensifies that color in this flat light, but it also makes things a bit darker, and it really gives separation between the white foam in the water and and obviously the darkening of the water underneath, the color, that greeny bluey color of that water underneath. And it's also giving a little bit of saturation. You see when I rock it back and forth, a little bit of saturation to those plants there as well. So definitely a polarizer is going to be a good option. This one, knock those specular highlights off the water there, and really, you know, make it more contrasty against those white foam bubbles. Right, so I've gone with a 3-stop graduated filter now, just to bring down that sky, as well as a hard 3-stop ND, and I've got that polarizer on. And at the moment, settings wise, I am getting about 2 seconds at f11. I'm just going to take a shot at that, and then I want to zoom in, check the sharpness and see how that looks. Remember, check yourself before you wreck yourself. All right, let's zoom in. Oh, I'm liking that. I'm liking that long exposure. It's looking good. Not getting too much movement in the clouds at 2 seconds, of course, but I am liking the movement in the water. So we're pretty much all set up now, and then it's just going to be a matter of waiting for that light to come down, waiting for that blue hour, and hopefully we can get a magic long exposure. So I'm getting out to about 2.5 seconds now, and I zoomed in on that little foreground plant down there, and he's becoming unsharp. So he's moving in the long exposure, and it's not sharp, unsharp. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's looking not very sharp. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is actually take my filters off, leave the polarizer on, and we're going to speed my shutter speed up, and I'm just going to take a shot here without moving my tripod and get a shot for the foreground, just in case I need to get that sharpness and blend it back in post. So it's things like that that really show the little attention to detail in your photograph, and I think that's what makes a good photograph in the end. Good composition, good camera skills, sure, but those little things, those attention to detail, I think once you put all those things together, it really helps you create awesome photographs. Anyway, I'm going to take that shot, and I'm going to hang around here for about another half an hour or so and see if we get any light, and take a few more frames here, and I'll see you back at the computer in a minute and run you through my little edit.
Alright, so here's the raw file, straight out of camera there. Love the water movement. Composition worked out pretty nicely. So I ended up, and this is the processed in Lightroom version, just a few global tweaks there really. And I ended up merging that with this one. There was a little bit of movement there, so layers of mask in Photoshop and just blended in that little plant there in the foreground. And here's what we ended up with, the final photograph. This one here, you can see it's pretty nice. I like the water movement down here. If you zoom in on that water, looks really, really nice. I like how that looks in there. Nice bit of movement there. Also did some little bits of localized adjustments out here just to get a bit more detail in the ocean back there as well. You can see it brought out those little waves there. So all in all, pretty happy how we ended up. But I did try the black and white version as well, and like I thought, there's probably a little bit of more extra dodging and burning this needs to bring things out here in the foreground, but I think that would turn out all right.
Alright, good people, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed that photo adventure, and if you're liking these videos, how about throwing me a thumbs up below, and if you want to see more, subscribe and you'll get notified, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!